At first it was very subconscious, unconscious thing that each time I wrote a song I thought it was a miracle that had happened. I didn't see the sort of artisan side of doing a song, like well, put some chords down and then you put a bass line and then you put a melody and then you write some lyrics and like this very, very builder aspect of doing songs, something that you just do it, like building a house, and it's not a miracle, coming from the skies. Well, although maybe there is that aspect when on how inspired the song is going to be, and maybe that comes from somewhere else than just a building site. But so at first it was I did it very unconsciously like this, and then I was driven by some force to put my tiny little songs down in Rosie from Pram's back bedroom studio. Well, I thought it would be a nice environment for my songs, and it did. I think it sounded quite nice, like it was a good environment for recording those little songs. Then we had a sort of studio in our back bedroom at some point, and so I carried on recording in there. Then our little studio moved into the cellar, so it was also cellar recordings. And what happened is that I had these singles out, so I had a handful of songs, and I thought, well, if I write 5 more songs, I could have an album. And it's like, ooh, ambitious. So that's what happened. It kicked my ass a little bit, to come on, go and do something. So voila. I did my songs, and it's like, oh yeah, and an album, now I have an album. So of course, once you have an album, and then people review it, and some people say, oh, I like it, it resonates, then it's like, oh, then you have a sort of entity. And I moved to Bordeaux. The studio also moved to Bordeaux. And I thought, well, alone it's a bit, it's like, well, yeah, I can do that alone, but it'll be more interesting to have people, to have a group, which I think ultimately is the nice thing, is the exciting thing. Ultimately, to be together with people, and much harder, of course, but richer, more interesting, and to play live, because alone with my guitar, So I can do it, but and sometimes it's nice too, but really much more interesting to be a band, but to have this dynamic of progressing with people. So I made sure my band could not play their instruments too well, because I had quite a good drummer to begin with, and he didn't really understand the music, where it was coming from, why I was doing this. And he was far too good, so to him he was, well, what am I doing here? I'm so much better than this. So of course it's not about being the best, it's about progressing, about developing, about experimenting. And so that was the ground, the ground that I created for this, where I'm not scared where it's kind of intimate, and I'm not scared to try out things, you know. And of course, then there's another side of people really taking things seriously, and it's like Stereolab, you know. It's like, but I don't do it for that. I don't do it to compete with Stereolab. I don't do it to win an award. You know, I do it for my own joy. Oop. Yeah, I'm not exactly from somewhere precisely. I was born in a city next to Paris called Vincennes, and I'm basically a suburban person, which is not the same as being Parisian. It's different mentality altogether. Parisians are nasty, mean. Suburbans are nice. But basically, my dad, who worked for IBM at the time, was called to travel, and that's how we got to live in Poughkeepsie, upstate New York, for 2 years, and in Kingston also, not Jamaica, also by the Hudson River. And I lived in the south of France, in Montpellier also. And I lived for 13 years of my life in London. Voilà, so I'm not really from anywhere, I wouldn't say. I'm from planet Earth. Of course, I think that traveling will more than likely open up your brain, your experience, and your sensitivity as well. And I know it's the trip living in the States when I was 10 years old really changed me. Well, I learned how to speak English for a start, and learning other languages opens up parts of the brain, and I mean, my sisters aren't really like that, but I know that after that I could not really live in France somehow. I could not have a normal life. I really despised anything that was normal. Despised because it really scared me, it frightened me. So I just had to... I knew I had to do something else, but like what was maybe traced by my mother, you know, to be a high-flying bilingual secretary, or I don't know. She wanted me to do commerce, to work in the trade, commerce and things like that. I don't know. I knew somehow it would not work with me. So I don't know. I didn't really destine myself to be an artist either, and I never thought of myself as being an artist. I think I'm realizing now that you can't declare yourself an artist. That you become an artist possibly, and yeah, I mean, definitely traveling, and also being living with Tim for so long. Tim is an insane music listener and consumer of music. He buys a lot of records, lots of different musics. He has a very, very deep passion for music, and of course I discovered a lot at his contact, and I think he discovered certain things also with me, like the French side of pop, and Gainsbourg, Paul Naref, France Gall, Françoise Hardy. Yeah. Tim, when I met him, was in another band at the time called McCarthy, and the band split up, and we started Stereolab together, and Stereolab's still going. But yeah, I was a bit frustrated not to be able to write songs, and to not play any guitar, because I am very bad at rehearsing on my own in my bedroom with a guitar. I just think it's really tedious. I can't do it. So I needed to be in a situation where I would do this. I might be ridicule myself for I don't know how long, until it's actually sounding quite decent. But yeah, I just had to do it. Tim writes the songs in Stereolab. I write the lyrics. And So lyrically speaking, no, I think might be slightly more. I don't know. I have yet to define all this, but I just wanted Monade to be a free space where I'm not forcing any agendas or anything. That is just whatever came out somehow. So, but of course, ultimately, it's pretty much the same. You know, I can't really run away from myself to this point. You know, where I have a double life. You know, inevitably, it's the same themes. Tout ce qui m'intéresse, c'est la chaleur. La chaleur de l'amour. Well, I try to go deeply into my thoughts or my feelings, you know, and be as sincere as I can, even if it means sometimes being paradoxical within the same song. I try to be. I try to avoid the cliches, which is not always easy. Yeah, I mean, anything can inspire me. I just try to find something that rings true to me. Tim was a big Nurse with Wound fan, and we have a friend called Nick Brown, who has a record shop, and he knows Steve Stapleton. So he's like, hey, you know, there's this Tim Gain guy who's really a fan, and he has his band Stereolab, and I mean, it was not an obvious thing, I think, for Steve Stapleton. He's kind of out there, but it showed that he had that his mind was open enough to see through, I guess, the pop side of Stereolab, and accept this. So we recorded some music for him. We gave him the tapes, and apparently he put on the tapes, and I was like, oh fuck, I can't do this. And then I don't know, he went to drink a cup of coffee or something, came back and shoom, and he just did it, and he'd found the way in there and mixed it. So that's how we met a few times and talked about records at long length. He's got a lot of records.